You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find
You
it.
can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
For over 100 years, Schlage has made door handles and locks that are built for real life. Hardware backed by rigorous testing, both by industry experts and by busy families. Schlage's dedication to detail is trusted in over 40 million homes. This commitment to quality is why Schlage is America's most trusted lock. Strength and durability you can count on. Explore door hardware built for real life at Schlage.com.
For a limited time at McDonald's, get a Big Mac Extra Value Meal for $8. That means 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, and medium fries, and a drink. We may need to change that jingle.
Prices and participation may vary.
You have to control yourself!
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking, why do you always have to try and save me? We're talking, now it's just a garbage heap made up of a bunch of hedonistic fools. And we're talking, Tetsuo! And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking Kaneda!
Yeah, that does feel like it encapsulates about 60% of the film.
Joe, I'm not even kidding going into this. I was like, I almost asked you, said, Joe, can you please make your last thing Tetsuo, like the screaming of Tetsuo, because I'm doing Kaneda. And so when that just happened, oh, that made me so happy.
You know what? We are just so in sync, much like these wannabe gay lovers who just can't figure their shit out and have to basically destroy the new world.
Oh my God, they are so frustrating. Everyone, we are discussing 1998's Akira for not an anniversary, actually, just because it's not our first anime, because that would be Perfect Blue.
Right. And not our first animated film, because we have covered several others.
Yes, like Paranorman.
Yeah. Actually, that may be the only other one.
Yeah, maybe the only. Yeah, maybe we should do. No, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Right. How could I have forgotten that one? How indeed.
Yes, everyone, Akira. This was a second and third time watch for me for this recording. I think I talked about this last week in the outro, but I had seen this in college for my Asian horror film class, and I knew nothing. I had never heard of this, and I was really perplexed when all the film bros around me were like, oh my God, Akira! And I was like, what?
Yeah, it does have a reputation. It's definitely a bit film bro-y. I would say for the uninitiated, this is a very hard first watch.
Yes, it is.
Some might say this is a very hard watch always, just because there is so much going on in this film.
Very much so. There was a point where I have a friend who's like a cinephile with a capital C, like, very loves to throw out 1-star ratings, very rarely gives something above a 3, unless it's like, high art. And
I see. Okay.
And he had given this movie 3 stars, and he was like, amazing animation, great sound design, great soundtrack, but I had a massive headache by the end of it.
Oh, yes. It is definitely overwhelming. It's almost like a sensory overload, isn't it?
It is very much so. And, I watched it twice for this, which is becoming a habit for me now. But, I remember in college, we did watch the Japanese dub. Or, actually, we call it is a dub. I mean, it's because it's animation, I guess. But because our teacher was very adamant. Like, we don't watch Japanese films in English. We don't watch foreign films in English, obviously. And I was like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Right. So subtitles it was for your first watch.
Totally. And so when I watched it again for this podcast, I watched the Japanese dub again. But I was doing it while I was taking notes. And I found that a bit to be a bit of a daunting task.
Yes.
So I watched it and I was like, okay, I don't think I grasped everything that was going on. Like, a lot of my notes were like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened.
Yeah.
But I was losing a lot of connective tissue between scenes, which I'm not entirely sure are always there to begin with. But whatever there was, I was missing. So I did rewatch it again with the English dub from, I want to say it's the second English dub from 2001, which features one of the Power Rangers as Kaneda.
Okay.
But I definitely appreciated it more because I think the task of watching it, of reading subtitles while taking notes, while trying to see everything that's on screen all the time, was not working for me. And I agree. This is a daunting watch, be it a first, second, or third watch. But I also felt like disconnected because I was reading all these reviews about how good this was, how amazing it was, and I was like, I mean, I kind of get it, but I don't connect with this in the same way that a lot of people do, I think, or at least a lot of its fans do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that just happens. We've talked at length a number of times about feeling like we're on the outside looking in about a particular text. It happens to the best of us. I probably like this a little bit more than you, but this isn't a 5-star film for me either. And I think part of it is that it does feel daunting. It does feel overwhelming. There's probably some cultural context that we're absolutely going to be missing. Although in some ways, I also think that the easiest reading for this film is the most obvious one, which is, it's Japanese society grappling in the wake of the atomic bomb. Yeah. Like, that's kind of what it is, in addition to a bunch of other more specific, timely cultural issues.
Very much so. And I'll go over a couple of them in my production history, but yeah. And it's not even that I dislike this film. It's more so, it's one of those like, oh, this isn't really for me.
Sure. Yeah.
But was this a film school watch for you too, or did you see this later?
I can't remember the first time I saw this. It might have been in high school when I was trying to become a film bro. It might have been in college when I was hanging out with film bros while getting my degree. I think I definitely screened it for my class when I was teaching about technology in the future. So one of the final courses I got to teach was basically like I got to make up a bunch of my own classes, and then I got to make up the syllabus and think about the readings. So I really got into like technofuturism for a while and basically how the body interacts with technology. So I just ended up screening a bunch of different dystopian films, and I think this might have been one of them, if only because I thought it was really interesting to consider the God complex.
Well, do you have any expertise or familiarity with anime as a medium?
I did teach an animated class as well, so that was one of the other ones.
Animated or anime?
Animated, and I included some anime in there. But I mean, apart from the research that I did for that course, no.
Okay, yeah. And that's the thing, is like I obviously am aware that like anime has, I don't even want to say a cult following. It's a huge following.
It's a huge following, but also a huge history. Like, I think, especially here in North America, we have a tendency to say, oh, like serial killers and perverts read manga. Like, I'm watching The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, and apparently the guy who was accused of contributing to the murder, they found like a violent manga in his apartment.
Of course.
And people were like, oh, well, this is basically Columbine, Marilyn Manson, The Matrix kind of shit. And you're just like, no, there's a bunch of people who read manga. Like, frankly, if you live in Japan, you're reading this stuff all the time. It doesn't always have to be graphic and violent and rapey. It's actually just a popular form of reading.
That's great. I'm going to talk about that in my production history too, because my expertise, oh my God, my only connection to anime is Pokemon. That's about it. And that is obviously very family oriented.
Sure, and like Sailor Moon and all these other things. Yeah. Like it's just one of those things where I think specifically in North America, it feels so foreign to us because there's a couple of steps removed from how we typically interact. And frankly, as we have talked about on previous episodes dealing with animation or anime specifically, like remember back in our Perfect Blue episode, we specifically said just because it's drawn doesn't mean it's for children.
Yes. And actually, Akira is a big reason for anime's success in the West now.
There we go.
I will say, though, just ahead of time, I don't know if I said this in Perfect Blue, but I definitely realize this now. I loathe the sound of footsteps in animation from this time period.
Interesting. Okay. Just too heavy for you?
I just don't like the way it sounds. And it's constant. You know, if there's any kind of silence on screen, which granted, there isn't a lot of silence in Akira. No. But I hate the sound. I just don't like the effect sound. It just really irks me. I like cringe every time I hear it.
Interesting. Okay. This would have been a helpful thing to have been able to include when we had that Patreon newsletter question a couple of months ago, where it was like, what is a sound effect that you loathe? And I think you said the Wilhelm scream. And now you could say, oh, it's the footsteps in anime.
Yeah, well, because that's the thing is the Wilhelm scream I just think is lazy. This is something that just actually just for some reason it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. Yeah,
oh, interesting.
Exactly. I don't know why, and it's a fucking footstep. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so I will say most of my production history is coming from an article for Empire magazine that was written in 2011 by Andrew Osmond titled Akira, The Story Behind the Film, which... Very helpful.
Succinct. Yeah.
Okay, so Akira's director and co-writer, Katsuhiro Otomo, he started his career as an artist and creator of manga comics. His first strips were published in the late 70s after he moved to Tokyo, and they were mostly short stories, but grew in scale over the years. So his 1980 serial Domu, about a paranormal battle between a girl and an old man in an apartment block, was hailed as a masterpiece and was the first manga to win Japan's Sci-Fi Grand Prix Award.
Okay. That's a very simple concept, so it sounds intriguing.
Exactly. And so, in December 1982, he released the first part of Akira. And heavy emphasis on first part, because this thing is a tome.
Oh, okay.
So Akira was serialized bi-weekly in Kodansha's 300-page seinen manga magazine, Young Magazine. And I might have just said a bunch of words that you might not recognize, Joe. So.
Not really. No. Okay. Elaborate, please.
Seinen manga is marketed towards young adult men. So it's not teenagers. It's not children. Shonen manga is aimed at adolescent boys. Shoujo manga is aimed at adolescent girls and young women, whereas josei manga is aimed at adult women. So there's all these different categories of manga where I was like, well, didn't know that.
There we go.
So Akira ran from December 20th of 1982 to June 25th of 1990.
Okay.
So this is 8 years with 120 chapters collected into 6 volumes. And you'll notice that it ended after 2 years after the release of this film.
Yeah, how does that work? Is this like a Game of Thrones situation?
Kind of, except the creator is doing both.
Okay. So we didn't have to do like a weird handshake deal with an HBO executive, is what you're saying.
This is all him doing. This is all Otomo. So Akira was initially published in the United States by Marvel Comics under its Epic imprint. And I'm pretty sure Epic imprint was like kind of like what Dimension is to Miramax.
Okay, like a slightly more genre-oriented.
Yeah, a little bit. But it became one of the first manga works to be translated in its entirety into English, making it instrumental in the surge in popularity of manga outside of Japan, especially in the United States and France.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Needless to say, though, I mean, Akira was a hit, and with the first collected volume becoming a #1 bestseller.
Wow.
Otomo has said of the first Akira collection that he wanted the page count, the contents, the paintings, everything about it to create a deep, full, specifically American comic-style world.
Huh. I would not have expected that.
Well, and it was because he wanted to make the manga much more attractive to American readers as...
Well, yes.
And Archie Goodwin, Marvel's editor-in-chief during the 70s, noted that Akira dealt with a science fiction story, which Americans like, but it was also dealing with beings with paranormal powers, which was and still is a very popular theme in American comics and science fiction. Because, I mean, you know, like it's the 80s. Like, we're fully into X-Men by this point. Well, I mean,
100%.
All these other comics that deal with superhumans, so... Okay, influences in the manga were things like Tetsujin 28, which is called Gigantor over here in America.
Oh my god, okay.
That is a manga in which a young boy operates a remote-controlled robot. And many of Akira's character names and story points hark back to that specific series. I'm not familiar with it, but it's a lot of robot stuff. And I think also we're kind of entering into the cyberpunk era with that as well.
Yes.
So, Otomo was also inspired by what he saw in 1970s Tokyo, noting that there were so many interesting people, student demonstrations, bikers, political movements, gangsters, unhoused youth, all part of the Tokyo scene that surrounded him. And so, with Akira, he wanted to project these elements into the future as science fiction. So, it's this thing where it's like, yeah, it's today's society, but that just happens to be in the future.
Sure. And I've got a little baby primer on the biker gang situation because I did see that come up a couple of times and I wasn't familiar with it. So I may have fallen down a minor rabbit hole.
Well, because there's a specific name for it, right? It's like Bosuzoku.
Yes, Bosuzoku.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, perfect. I'm excited to hear about that. He further drew on the 1960s zeitgeist. So, like, Akira's climax takes place in an Olympic sports stadium, which is a Japanese symbol of reconstruction because the 1964 Olympics were a milestone for the post-war country.
Sure. Yes, it's all about progress.
Well, because 1964, that's just 19 years after the atomic bombs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Other real-life influences are apparent in the film as well. So, like, the colonel's coup d'etat in the climax echoes an actual failed insurrection in 1936, and the adults carrying out cruel medical experiments on children recall Japanese war crimes.
Right. Dark shit.
Very dark. And this film is very dark, and I would also argue very upsetting when we get to the big flesh mass at the end.
Yeah, but it's all drawn, so it can't be that upsetting because isn't it for kids?
I do remember though the first time I saw this, like Tetsuo's transformation, like
it's so unexpected, even though we shouldn't be surprised, but
it physically upset me. And honestly, I mean, like there are many reasons why the live action adaptation of this for America has never gotten off the ground. Because
thank God, just put a stake in it and go back to the anime.
Honestly, or just make it a fucking TV show. Like this was released in 6 volumes over 8 years. I'm sorry, compiled into 6 volumes over 8 years. Like do 6 episodes of a TV show,
seasons or
episodes.
Oh, I don't think season. Okay.
I guess I'm just thinking like 1 hour per volume, but sure.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of like that shitty Umbrella Academy, which is like actually just based on a graphic novel, and they somehow managed to turn that garbage into like 5 seasons.
Well, wouldn't you rather have it last for 1 season of 6 episodes than 6 seasons that's stretched out?
I don't know. I think that there's so much meat here.
Yeah, that is true. And I don't know anything about Umbrella Academy, so maybe there's less meat on those bones.
Okay. Well, here's the thing, folks. If you like that show, then I'm happy for you. But I found that it was terrible storytelling.
Anyway, okay. So Otomo later claimed that Akira's world could only have been fully realized in animation. So, there you go. Keep it in animation. Saying that it is extremely difficult to express the depth of such a vast city. In the comic, he used each issue to build more depth and size. But in a film, you get to combine this all into one. And it's much more convincing, and he could really create the type of environment that he wanted to depict.
Sure. Yeah.
So I guess it's really, because he made this movie, 4 issues, maybe 3 issues into its 6-issue run. And I just really wanted to make it a movie, I guess.
Sure. I think understanding how a change in medium can really open up the storytelling, or I guess in his mind, maybe just realize the potential.
Yeah, maybe it's the motion effect of it all, where he's like, this is the depth of the animation will come out so much more in motion animation than on a page.
Right, yeah, and you can do it so much faster.
Yes. So with that, the film entered production in the mid-1980s, and this is a time when Japan was in its booming bubble economy years, and companies were ready to invest in anime. So, when Akira's art director asked Otomo, who would also storyboard the film, by the way, what the film's world view would be, Otomo drew him a dirty, grungy city sidewalk, the lived-in detail rivaling any live-action set. And I'm reading this, and I'm like, that's interesting. How?
Because he's a great artist.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just like, whoa, okay. But the art director looked at it and declared it impossible. But then Akira was given a budget of 1.1 billion yen, which is about 10 million American dollars.
Oh boy, okay.
Now, I saw this number. I saw other reports, though, saying that this was actually a $5 million film, with the remaining $5 million going towards prints and advertising and things like that.
Oh, that's a big difference then, isn't it?
It is a big difference. But either way, that much money for an animated film, a film that was kind of, going to be groundbreaking because people weren't investing in anime like this at the time. It's a risk.
It is a risk, but I imagine they were able to leverage the popularity in North America? Question mark?
I don't know. So with the money, they had resources to match. So a 70-strong staff working around the clock, new technology that allowed for character lip sync, and the resources to make full, quote-unquote, animation on 12 or 24 frames a second. And by comparison, the Studio Ghibli films, oh my god, Spirited Away and things like that.
Yeah.
They use semi-limited character animation, which is why they're less smooth than their Hollywood rivals.
Okay.
So Otomo used the techniques and forms best suited to his purposes, things like cinematic styles, building up speed, cutting, and editing. And the spectacle takes on muscular momentum driven by the score by the group Gino Yamashirogumi that's full of explosive breathing and clacking percussion. And I will say, my main takeaway from this movie is the score. I do love the score for this movie.
Yeah, there's a couple of moments where I just thought, oh man, I feel like I'm at the drum show.
Yeah, I need to be rolling on ecstasy right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that was maybe different than my takeaway, but yeah.
I want to be in a club banging out to this with lights.
Right. Give me some glow sticks.
But Akira did have pre-scored dialogue, and this is when the dialogue is recorded before the film starts production, and the movements of the characters' lips are animated to match it, which...
that can be very restrictive.
Yeah, a first for an anime production and extremely unusual even today for anime. Although the voice actors did perform with the aid of animatics, so like almost like flipbook versions of the scenes they were acting out.
Okay.
Yeah. But there was also super fluid motion as realized in the film's more than 160,000 animation cells.
I don't know about comparisons to other texts, but that seems like a lot.
I think it's also why you don't have a lot of 2D hand-drawn animation anymore because it's so time-consuming. I remember, this is not related to Akira, but I remember watching like the bonus features on Disney's Sleeping Beauty Blu-ray and about how many drawings they had to do. And I was like, that sounds horrible. I would not want to be an animator.
Well, and it makes sense, right? When you would see, this film was announced as going into production, and then it comes out 6 years later or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's because, it's a fuck ton of work.
Exactly. Now, CGI was used in the film primarily to animate the special pattern indicator used by Dr. Onishi.
Oh, that weird crown pattern thing?
Yes, the one that looks like Ursula's crown from Little Mermaid. Yes, that one. But it was additionally used to plot the paths of falling objects, model parallax effects on backgrounds, and tweak lighting and lens flares.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw a review saying and there's no CGI in the movie, and I was like, well, there is, but just not obvious. Well, I would say that special pattern is the only obvious CGI effect in the movie, but
it looks completely different from everything else in the film.
Yeah. But also, who's griping about that, right?
No one, because part of the reason that it's memorable is because it looks completely different from everything else in the film.
Exactly.
It's doing its job.
I always think about the old cartoons when it was like, okay, because they had like just like the static background, but if something was about to move, you could tell because it had a thick line drawn around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, while most of the character designs and settings were adapted from the manga, the plot of the film differs considerably and does not include much of the latter half of the manga, which, as mentioned earlier, continued publication for 2 years after the film's release.
Okay, so even though he knew probably where the story was going to go, he doesn't try to fold it in.
Yes. So this means, though, that the film still does compress hundreds of manga pages into 2 dazzling but very confusing hours of animation.
Is that your quote, or is that from...
That's actually a totally Empire's quote.
Okay.
And I had real validation when I read that, because I was like, oh, good, it's not just me.
There are times where you think, are we missing a couple of scenes in between here? Because it's just a movie that moves at a very fast pace.
100%. There's very little time to breathe in this film. And so from the manga, subplots and supporting characters are truncated or just plain forgotten. In the film, plot points are vague and sometimes even contradictory. So I did look through like the Wikipedia summary of the manga just to see like, okay, well, what's the big difference here? And like, there are quite a few. Big ones are so like at the end of the first issue, Tetsuo becomes the leader of the clowns, the rival gang, and starts a turf war that populates most of the second issue. So
because those clown gang people, they really just disappear as soon as we start getting into the ESP stuff.
Exactly, and they are the focus of those first 2 issues. I'm sorry, the gang wars and things like that.
Right.
So
also
at the end of that second issue, Akira is released as a little boy, not a bunch of body parts, and becomes an actual character in the remaining issues of the manga.
Oh, yeah, that would change things dramatically. Although I will say, I kind of like the way that we use Akira.
Well, because it's the Rebecca effect, right?
Yeah, it to the point where when we do actually even see a child in flashback, I thought, that takes something a bit away from it.
Yeah, it takes the mystique away, right? Like, there's something about just having the body parts of him in cryogenically frozen, like, vases or whatever.
God, and it's like he's been Hannibal Lecter autopsy slided in those different containers, too.
Yeah. Other big things that are cut out. So, like, Nezu, that politician who's in the council who's funding the
Yes. Yeah. The guy who has a heart attack on the street when Ryu...
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he actually kidnaps Akira at one point, and the colonel's coup d'etat is actually a response to that.
Oh, okay.
Nezu does try to shoot Akira, but winds up shooting and killing Takashi, one of the espers. And this is what causes Akira to set off an explosion that destroys Neo Tokyo again.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty different.
Yeah, so that happens at the end of the third issue. And basically, like, Kaneda is missing for this entire fourth issue. And in the fourth issue, the city is divided into two factions. One led by another esper named Lady Miyako, who is not in the film. The other, a group of zealots led by Tetsuo and Akira, which really fuels the kind of cultists that are praising Akira in the back half of the film. But
yeah,
again,
the religious fervor, right?
Yeah, but they don't. Again, that was something that I missed on my first watch for this, where I was like, what? Like, who are these people?
Right. Okay. I think there's a simple read of it that works in the film, although what you've described does sound pretty interesting.
And then, so Tetsuo begins to go through withdrawal when he stops taking the pills at Lady Miyako's request to have him become more powerful. There's also an entirely other character after this explosion where the two factions are, where we have this American general guy that kind of becomes not really the main antagonist for Kaneda and Tetsuo over the rest of the manga.
That makes sense, given the history between America and Japan.
Mm-hmm. And Tetsuo eventually kills him, but then there's also a subplot with Tetsuo trying to resurrect his girlfriend Kaori, who is killed very differently in the manga compared to the film, because her death in the film is really upsetting.
So upsetting. And also nobody cares, which is part of my queer read. When your beard dies because you squish her and you don't even notice because you're too busy maybe squishing your love interest.
Yeah.
That's gay.
That character of Kaori is also kind of a punching bag. Like,
she's so useless. Oh, also content warning for like random sexual assault.
Yeah. She doesn't actually get like raped, but like she gets,
she gets old boyed.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, she gets old boyed. There you go. Okay. Now, this is interesting, though. Otomo has said that the film project had to begin with the writing of an ending that would bring suitable closure to major characters, storylines, and themes without being extraordinarily lengthy. So he would know in reverse order which manga elements would make it into the cut of the anime, and thus suitably resolve the manga's various elements into a lean 2-hour story.
Okay, so we started at the back, and then...
but at this point, I don't think he had an ending in mind for the manga, so he came up with the ending for the film before he came up with the ending for the manga.
Oh, that breaks my brain. I don't think I could do that as a creative.
Well, but again, though, when the back half of the manga is filled with this whole two factions thing, one led by Tetsuo, one led by the Colonel, none of that's in this movie.
Right, you just have to throw it away, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Now, he does admit that making the film before finishing the manga was the quote-unquote worst possible idea.
Okay, there we go.
He did come to like having two similar but different versions of the same story, but he still felt that too much of the original was cut out of the film.
To the point where, I mean, I know that this is an anime that's still over 2 hours long, and as we said, it can be very visually overwhelming, it's stimulating, sometimes to the point of headaches and so on, but every time I hit play on this movie, I'm always surprised that it's not 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, I will say that first viewing felt endless to me.
Again, if you don't know what you're walking into, this would be a very hard watch.
Very much so. And I really, again, like 15 years ago, I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Sure, yeah.
I was also kind of like, well, this isn't really horror, but it is. It is obviously horror. There's body horror all over this thing.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Cosmic horror.
Yes. And I think that's why it makes me so uncomfortable. Again, Tetsuo's transformation, I just find deeply, deeply, like, physically upsetting.
That's something that should never happen to a human body.
No. And honestly, it's the only reason why I would want to see a live-action adaptation of this, because I want to see how, like, of course they would CGI the fuck out of it, but, like, in my dream, it would be something similar to, like,
the lady from Slither?
Yes! Oh my god, yes! Okay, so Akira was released in Japan on July 16th, 1988 by Toho, and at the Japanese box office, it was the 6th highest grossing Japanese film of the year, earning a distribution income, or distributor rentals, of 750 million yen in 1988.
Okay.
It topped the box office at the onset, making it a success in the Japanese market. And by 2000, so the year 12 years later,
right,
the film had earned a Japanese distribution rental income of 800 million yen. So,
whoa, okay,
really good. So the following year after its initial release, so in 1989, it swiftly became midnight movie fodder in the US on a small release through Streamline Entertainment. And then, to top things off, it would go on to earn over $80 million worldwide in home video sales.
Yeah, I mean, it's peaking at just the right time for those home video sales. And yeah, I mean, can I imagine watching this as a midnight movie? 100%. But can I more easily imagine a bunch of discerning adults in North America looking at this and saying, I don't really know what this is, but I kind of want to rent it because the box art is incredible, and just taking a chance on it. So I can imagine this making, well, as you said, tons of money on home video.
Yeah, I guess I was surprised by the midnight, because I mean, it also played a lot on college campuses, you know,
of course.
And that is where a lot of these kind of films, they
found
their audience, exactly. So I just missed that boat when I was in high school, apparently. But
right, yeah.
It was well received critically, though, so we're looking at a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Letterboxd users have given this a 4.3 out of 5 or an 8.6 out of 10.
Nice. Okay.
Now, in terms of legacy, Akira has been cited as a masterpiece and among the greatest animated films of all time, as well as one of the greatest in the action and science fiction genres. A landmark in Japanese animation and one of the most influential and iconic anime films ever made, it's also considered a pivotal film in the cyberpunk genre, particularly the Japanese cyberpunk genre, as well as just generally adult animation. But here's the thing. Because of films like Akira, anime was equally stereotyped as violent animation in America. At least until things like Pokemon and Spirited Away arrived a decade later. And Digimon, I'm assuming, too. As you said, Sailor Moon and things like that. The clash between Japan's old and young generations is also a hot issue in a fast-changing country. So, after Akira, the clash would play out in one of the biggest 1990s anime, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Ostensibly, it's a robot show like that Tetsujin 28 that Akira is based on, yeah. But with a boy hero who's driven by his rage and bitterness towards his commander, who's also his dad.
Yeah, I have tried to watch Neon Genesis Evangelion a couple of times, and if you think this is complicated, woo boy!
Yep. The lurid hyperviolence in Akira is also seen as influencing Kinji Fukasaku's Battle Royale, which of course is the ultimate Japanese youth alienation fantasy.
Yeah, I like that it's in here, but it doesn't overwhelm it. You know, it's very much a subplot, and you can see it very specifically in the couple of scenes that are set in the high school, but then also just every teenage relationship with an adult.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So that's it. That's what I got, Joe.
That's it. That's all. Okay.
That's it.
On Deck is built to back small businesses like yours. Whether you're buying equipment, expanding your team, or bridging cash flow gaps, On Deck's loans up to $250,000 help make it happen fast. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau and earning thousands of 5-star Trustpilot reviews, On Deck delivers funding you can count on. Apply in minutes at OnDeck.com. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by On Deck or Celtic Bank. On Deck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
Today's episode is sponsored by I Know What You Did Last Summer. Get it now on digital. When 5 friends inadvertently cause a deadly car accident, they cover up their involvement and make a pact to keep it a secret, rather than face the consequences. A year later, their past comes back to haunt them, and they're forced to confront a horrifying truth. Someone knows what they did last summer and is hell-bent on revenge. As one by one, the friends are stalked by a killer, they discover this happened before, so they turn to 2 survivors of the legendary Southport Massacre of 1997 for help. Starring Madeline Klein, Chase Sue Wonders, Jonah Hauer-King with Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt. I Know What You Did Last Summer is a perfect summer slasher, says Jordan Cruciolo of NPR. Your summer is not over yet. Don't miss a killer movie night at home.
So, this film begins on July 16th, 1998, when Tokyo is destroyed in World War III by an atomic bomb. And I gotta say, this never gets easier to watch, even in animated form.
Yeah, and this is a bold, daring way to start your movie.
Jesus Christ, yes it is. So that's basically like the first minute of the film, and then we jump ahead 31 years to Neo Tokyo in the year 2019, which made me wish we had covered this back when we first did the pod.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think we would have been ready to cover this back then, but that's fine.
I do think that, the film was released, I think, the exact same day that the bomb went off.
Right. That would make sense. Mm-hmm. So the rest of the film literally explores the fallout of this explosion. So even though it clearly tells us that this is World War III, it's a completely different scenario, historical incident. I mean, you might as well just consider it World War II.
Yeah, but at this point, like, there's very little context around this explosion, except for the fact that it is World War III. So again, if you're walking in probably assuming, oh yeah, the Americans probably did this, we won't learn about exactly what happened until later, but there's no context provided to this.
Yes, yeah. So we begin in an underground bar, and we see a news report about violent protests that are brewing, and it's a lot of young people who are rising up against the government. And as we just mentioned, this is kind of one of the themes of the film. So it's a younger generation that have inherited this fucked up world from adults who, of course, caused the fuck-uppery. And these youngsters, these teenagers, these violent protesters / terrorists is what the film will often call them, they now have an uncontrollable anger about it.
I mean, that's kind of this whole movie, though. Everyone is so angry in this movie all the time.
Everyone is very angry, yes. But I will say it's interesting when you think about something like, okay, well, how is that different from The Grudge, right? Or The Ring, where, that's often filtered through a lens of like domestic violence or child abuse and that kind of stuff. But like Japanese films often contend with, it's almost the intersection between civility and like, they're a very strict society, very driven by rules. Scholastic aptitude is very, very important. But then also so many films that deal with this uncontrollable simmering beneath the surface rage. So we're introduced to our protagonist, ? Well,
I'm glad you said that too, because that's the thing is Kaneda, I think, is...
He's such a piece of shit.
Well, I mean...
He's a bit of a dumbass.
I do find him endearing, even charming in some moments. Mostly when he gets a goofy smile on his face sometimes that I really find cute.
Well, mostly when he's, trying to court Kay.
Well, but yeah, because she's right. He's a skirt chaser. I do find Kaneda much more likable than Tetsuo, though. I do really... And I get its intention. Like, he's very much meant to be a kind of a mentally disturbed young man, but I don't really empathize with him a lot in this film.
It's hard to crack him, but we will get some insight as the film progresses when we get to see some flashbacks. Yeah. Okay. So Kaneda is voiced by Mitsuo Iwata, and this character is all about his souped-up bike, and he is the leader of this gang of motorcyclists called the Capsules. And yes, we mentioned smaller orphan Tetsuo, who is voiced by Nozumo Sasaki, and he's kind of a younger brother figure, although I don't know that they're actually meant to be that different in age.
I don't think they are either. I would say at most 2 years.
Yeah, it's basically big brother, little brother, but also there's always tension between the two of them because Kaneda is constantly looking out for him. Like, even in this introduction between the two characters, he comes out and he finds Tetsuo trying to ride his bike or like trying to get on it. And it's basically been... It's the equivalent of the gun that only works for me because it's got my fingerprints or some bullshit.
Right,
nobody else can ride this. So Tetsuo is just a bit of a hangers-on, but he looks up to Kaneda and he wants to impress him. He wants to be him. He wants to fuck him.
Yeah, but do you feel... Because I feel like Tetsuo believes that Kaneda infantilizes him has infantilized him for most of their relationship. And I don't always get that from Kaneda.
I don't think always, but definitely in a lot of the present day moments that we are seeing. Like, there's very much a get behind me, I'm going to take the lead, I'm going to do the heroics and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we go on a little bike spree so that we can beat down the clowns, which is our rival biker gang. And we should note that this is actually something that was very popular in Japan at the time, particularly in the 80s. So there was a lot of Japanese youth who were joining biker gangs, which, as we mentioned, are called bosazoku.
Now, Japanese biker gangs, though, because I feel like when you mention American biker gangs, there's maybe like a bit of intimidation there where it's like, oh, those are like bad boys. And I guess, is that the same thing with this bosazoku?
It can be, yeah. So let me give you some backup information. So I'm going to reference Ricky Shup's piece, Japan's Violent Motorcycle Gangs That Influenced Akira and Anime History for Tokyo Weekender. Okay, so here's your history lesson. So the bosazoku rose from the ashes of World War II kamikaze pilots. So these men who were trained to fight in aircraft and die honorably for the sake of their country. But near the end of the war, a large number of men were trained with this mindset and never actually sent on any of the missions. So after Japan's unconditional surrender in 1945, these trained but never tested kamikaze pilots had trouble readjusting to post-war society. So with the occupation of Japan by American forces during the latter half of the 40s and 50s, many elements of America's motorcycle and greaser culture leaked into Japanese society. So the early gangs borrowed heavily from the greaser aesthetic of denim and greased pompadour hairstyles, though they eventually came to embody their own unique Japanese spirit. But basically, like, they were up to no good. So they were driving around, beating on people randomly, causing general property destruction. So it was kind of an outlet for young Japanese men who kind of needed something to fuel their aggression. And this is what became very popular until the government essentially changed the law so that they could clamp down on them. Because previously it was basically noise violations is how they would get them. It's like, oh, you're driving through areas and it's too loud, because they had souped up all of their bikes, much like what we see in this film. But eventually the government just said, no, like if you're causing mayhem, if you're hurting people, if you're doing this kind of stuff, we will arrest you. And that's where it starts to like get tricky. Basically, it ends right around the 90s. So this movie is kind of a
swan song.
Kind of, yeah.
Now, there are like stickers all over Kaneda's bike too, and the only one that sticks out to me is the Canon logo. And I didn't look this up, but was there any significance to that?
I will confess, I don't know. So maybe I will turn that back over to listeners. But yeah, they do have, I think part of it is that they tried to distinguish themselves by, getting unique insignias or patches and that kind of stuff. So it was a way to say, this is my gang versus your gang.
Ah, gotcha. And actually, I'm looking now. Looks like most of the original stickers on Kaneda's bike are brands that were either popular in Japan at the time or they helped fund Akira's massive budget.
Product placement!
The logo for Canon is there because Otomo had done ads for them in the past.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I thought maybe there was like a political reason for it.
Okay. No, just good old-fashioned capitalism.
Yep, there you go.
You know what? You gotta make that production budget somehow. All right, so back to the film. Basically, like, we have no context for any of this. It's just characters meeting. Okay, let's go. Let's beat the shit out of each other on bikes, on highways, and so on. And then let's introduce some new people. So we've got a bleeding older man who is rushing through the streets, and he's half dragging a child Well, yes.
I wrote a small, blue, wrinkled raisin of a child.
Yes, whereas I wrote a young child with an old face.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So this is Takashi, who is voiced by Tatsuhiko Nakamura. And the man ends up having to shoot a bunch of dogs that are tracking them because they are clearly on the run. And then they end up, unfortunately, right in the spotlight between police barricades and a parade of protesters, including Kei, who is voiced by Mami Koyama, and her boyfriend, Ryu, who is voiced by Tesuo Genda. So, basically, if you're paying attention, we've got biker stuff happening in one part, and we're not really sure how it connects to this man who is dragging this child into a violent protest between regular citizens and the police.
And I think, too, on my first two watches of this, the Ryu and Kei were people that I kept forgetting who they were or getting confused. Specifically, Ryu, I kept getting confused with other characters.
Yeah, he sometimes looks a little similar to the Colonel figure. I think it's because they're both tall, slim, and they have mustaches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All you need to know about Kei and Ryu is that they're secretly members of this rebellion, this terrorist organization that is looking to figure out what the fuck the government is actually doing.
Which... they are up to no good.
They are up to no good. Although I have seen a bunch of people say part of some people's struggle with this film is that it doesn't necessarily have good guys and bad guys. Like, we did say that Kaneda is like the protagonist, but sometimes he's a little bit shitty. And we did say Tetsuo is kind of the antagonist, but also you sort of understand where he's coming from. And I think you can do that. Oh, it's half and half, like half good, half bad for most of these characters because they're all just kind of flawed human beings.
I will say that, I that's an aspect I actually like about it, though. Like, there are no... I do think it can make for a difficult viewing experience when you are looking for those, like, those kind of...
give me the hero. Where's the hero?
And the fact is there isn't really a hero in this movie. And even Tetsuo, who kind of emerges as, like... I mean, he's the kaiju at the end of the film. Yes. He's not a bad guy. And I feel like a lot of the reasons why he is the way he is are explained, even though it doesn't make me empathize with him that much more.
Sure. I think that actually makes it kind of interesting and unique. Like, this is what distinguishes it from, not that I'm going to try to shit on Disney, but also I'm going to shit a little bit on Disney. This isn't so cookie cutter and safe entertainment for people where we're just trying to say, oh, well, here, you're going to learn this life lesson. Like, when you leave Akira, it's like, oh, wow, that was heady and complicated, and I don't really know what to feel. I know that there's a bunch of different themes, but also there isn't a safe takeaway message that you can just walk away from the film and say, cool, I definitely got it.
Oh, when this movie ends, I'm like, what? Did I just, what?
So we made a new universe.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I needed that verbalized to me, honestly.
I know, right? So, I mean, sometimes you read the Wikipedia and you think, this is distilled down for idiots. And then you go, sometimes I also need this.
Sometimes I'm the idiot. Yeah, absolutely.
I am the idiot. Thank you, Wikipedia. Yeah. Okay, so this man with this raisin-faced child is eventually shot. And I remember him getting killed. I didn't remember the police just shooting the fucking shit out of him.
Yeah, this guy is shredded with bullets. It is wild.
It is wild. And Takashi screams because it's a small child with an old person's face, but still you just watch an adult get absolutely brutally killed in front of you. Except that when Takashi screams, every single light and reflective surface and window in the immediate vicinity shatters.
Yep, so we know this kid's got psychic powers.
Yeah. Okay, so this eruption appears to trigger another child who is sitting in a hovercraft, and we will eventually come to realize that this is Masaru, who is voiced by Kazuhiro Shindo, and he alerts Colonel Shikishima, who is voiced by Taro Ishido.
I'm so proud of you with these names, by the way.
I'm working on it. All right, so back on the highways, we've got Tetsuo impulsively racing ahead because, once again, we're trying to impress the boy we want to fuck.
Yeah,
and he ends up running afoul of this clown gang, and he nearly runs over Takashi, who is standing in the middle of the road because I guess that's what children are apt to do.
Yeah,
So this is interesting because initially when I wrote this, I just wrote, and there's a car crash or a bike crash. Mm-hmm. But then part of me thinks Takashi probably did this in part, right?
There's confusion here for me, I think, because this is also meant to be the moment where Tetsuo's psychic powers awaken. So,
yes.
But again, is it because he's in close proximity to Takashi? Is it because it was in a near-death experience? I'm not completely sure.
I don't think you're meant to be. I go a little bit more with the former because we definitely get these moments where the editing suggests that I see him, he sees me, something is unlocked, explosion.
Yeah.
But also it could just be near-death experience, powers awakened.
Well, actually, I think you're right. I think it is the former where it's just close proximity to Takashi, because the same thing's going to happen with Kei whenever the other Esper, Kyoko, that we haven't met yet, uses her as a puppet.
Oh my God. The number of times that the girl just puppets the other girl. I was like, This is weird.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Kaneda arrives on the scene as Colonel Shikishima helicopters in, and we ultimately just collect both kids. So Takashi and Tetsuo are taken away over the protests of Kaneda, but the police are there, so they can't really do much because everybody just gets arrested. So the whole gang goes to jail.
Yes, I did want to point out too that I think this is when we get the it's Kaneda's like where he slides the bike to stop.
Yes.
Apparently, this particular moment of this bike sliding is
power slide.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It is considered one of the most famous and most copied shots in the film.
I mean, folks, if you have not looked at the Wikipedia page, it's very fun to see this list of about 30 different Hollywood films that you 100% know, love, and recognize. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this movie was influenced by Akira. And specifically, yeah, like the bike. I mean, you look at it and you think, oh yeah, The Matrix, obviously.
Well, because you said the artwork for the poster of the film, correct me if I'm wrong, it's an overhead shot of Kaneda walking towards the red bike, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, which again, you're like, well, where's Akira here?
Oh, that's the thing. Until I actually saw this movie and was just always checking out the box art, the way that I thought, oh, the guy in red with the bike, that's Akira.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it is not.
No, I know it's not, but you think that.
How could you not? How could you not? So at the police station, there's a brief scare when a terrorist tries to set off a faulty grenade, one of the few moments of light comedy in this movie. And then Kaneda lies that Kei is part of his gang, mostly because he's slightly attracted to her. Here's the thing. We could read Kaneda as bisexual. I think most people, if you are going to read a queer reading into the film, it's probably going to be Tetsuo towards Kaneda.
Right.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I just don't think any of the boys react in a very sexual way to any of the girls. Like, we're so fixated on Tetsuo and Kaneda.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Kaneda reacts that way to Kei, but I mean...
Like initially, but as the movie goes on, it's very much, where's Tetsuo?
Right.
I'm really upset that people ask me and I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to go find him. Oh, I've got to kill him because if I can't fuck him, I'm going to shoot him.
And even when Kei is getting puppeted by Kyoko and like she's doing a whole battle with Tetsuo at the end, like Kaneda, he's more concerned about what's going on with Tetsuo than what's going on with Kei.
100%. Yeah. Okay, so basically we got Kei out with the rest of the gang, and she goes, thanks, bye. Like, she doesn't want to stick around. She's got more important things to do than hang out with this high school kid.
I do love this moment, though, of the suicide bomber walking in, and like it just doesn't work.
Yeah, as I said, it's very funny. So the colonel is told by a member of the Supreme Executive Council that he's going to be fired. Like, it's, you fucked up, you're not doing the right thing, and you should prepare to pack your bag. But the colonel is a narcissist and doesn't believe that this is going to happen.
So speaking actually then of like, not traditional good or bad roles, do you think that this colonel leans one side or the other? Because I found myself siding with him for a lot of it, but I wasn't sure if maybe I was, well, right's not the right word to use, but if I wasn't fully understanding his motives or actions.
Right. Okay, so on a first watch, definitely thought he was the antagonist because he's signing off with this doctor to experiment on children, and, they get away, he brings them back. He doesn't care about what happens to anybody else. So I was like, villain, obviously. Yeah. And then on subsequent rewatches, you realize, oh, he's trying to prevent World War IV or Akira getting out and starting off another cataclysmic explosion. He is trying to keep the peace. It's another one of those things where when positioned with Kai and Ryu, it seems like he's an authoritarian figure who doesn't listen to the wants of the people. So you think, okay, he's bad. But then when you see what he's actually working against, the corruption, the secrets, the experiments, and so on, he's trying to keep the stability and the peace. And you think, oh, maybe he is a protagonist.
Do we know for sure? Because he was involved with Akira, like back when the first explosion happened, right?
I believe so. That's what I take away from it.
I kind of read it as like he's probably mad because we were experimenting on children, but now ever since then he's been working to prevent that, even though it does involve still working with these
experimenting
children.
On children.
Yeah, not a clear cut line.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is you could say he's doing bad things for good reasons, but he's still doing bad things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So speaking of, he goes to meet with Dr. Onishi, who is voiced by Mizuho Suzuki. And Dr. Onishi tells the colonel that this boy, Tetsuo, that they have taken in, so they've been doing these tests on him in this like really funky looking machine. It's very Ghost in the Shell. And he says, oh, Tetsuo could solve the Akira growth pattern process. And this is where we're seeing the kind of crowny thing from The Little Mermaid.
And again, I'm like, what is this? What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, this to me is a part of the puzzle that doesn't make a ton of sense. It's basically they could never stabilize Akira. Yeah. So it was like a failed experiment because they couldn't get it to work. But they think, oh, something about Tetsuo complements this or could maybe fill in some of those gaps. I don't know if that means it's intended to replace Akira, or if it's like we could bring Akira back and the two of them would be able to work together or something. Anyway, we're playing God.
Well, either way, I think that what they're not doing to some of these people, specifically Tetsuo, that they should be doing before they experiment on him, is a psych eval.
No, we're just picking up orphans off the street and we're pumping them full of all kinds of wild drugs and just saying, hey, you've got superpowers now. Well, because don't abuse them.
And like we don't know this because we never see like someone actually really control their powers in like a way that they want Tetsuo to do. But it's like I would imagine that you would want someone of stable mind who is probably the most likely, probably not likely, period, but at least the most likely to be able to control this power and thus contain Akira.
Sure. I think that Kyoko is probably the best because she seems the most level-headed. You know, when she says something, the other two boys sort of go along with it. But also, I'm just immediately suspicious of any government that says, well, we should definitely only be doing this to children.
That's what Onishi says, too, is like, oh, I'm certain he'll turn out to be a worthy addition to the numbers. And you're like, okay, the numbers, that's what we're calling all these Espers kids.
Yes. But, and then you look at the numbers, and the numbers are 24, 25, and 26.
Yeah, so it's like, where were the first 23?
Oh, they did. Yeah, you know they did. Mm-hmm. But also, it's like, well, why aren't we doing this to adults who have gone through puberty, who have control of their emotions, who have fully developed brains? Well, me thinks it's a control issue.
Well, I'm thinking about even our conversations on Alien Earth over on Patreon, where it's like, oh, but like a child's mind is bendable and pliable. Adults, like they're too closed off that you can't do anything with those.
Yeah, no, it's the kind of thing where I sort of wish that the movie was delving into that a little bit, and I would be curious to know, folks, if you're familiar with the manga, if that is something that gets broached in any of those issues. But yeah, I think we can make a lot of assumptions or we can project a lot of ideas and feelings into this relationship between the kids specifically and the colonel and the doctor. Right. But the movie doesn't actually tell us that much.
No, it doesn't. I mean, at this point, all we really know is like they want to have this big ass power and control it.
Yes, they do. Yeah. So we do have the doctor and the colonel debating the consequences of playing God. And I think this line is very telling and also delightful. Well, in a beautiful kind of way, but it's scary with the implications. We have no choice but to grasp that power and learn to control it. That's what the colonel says. And you're just saying, that sounds great in theory. Obviously, you are somebody with control issues. You're an authoritarian who thinks that you can control everything.
Right.
But also just this idea of you're playing around with something you clearly don't fully understand because you failed at it several times. And this idea that you think you're going to be able to control it. He does follow this up by saying, well, if Tetsuo gets out of control, we'll just kill him.
Well, yeah, exactly. If it's too much, we'll destroy it. But I'm like, well, what makes you think you can destroy it?
You're literally creating a super-powered child.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think that they're just going to go down easy?
Wow, actually, a lot of parallels with Alien Earth, actually.
Yeah, I kind of think of it. It's almost like these ideas come in cycles, which is another theme of this film, by the way.
Just a little bit.
Okay, so yes, this is the hubris of government messing with weapons that they don't understand and that they cannot harness, and how they ultimately have to reap what they sow. See also the atomic bomb.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move to a disorganized and dirty school where we see students are being aggressively disciplined. And this is where Kaneda gets pissy because he's being questioned about Tetsuo's disappearance. So to me, this was the first inkling of the gaydar pinging. Initially, I just thought, oh, it's big brother, little brother kind of situations. And here it's like, I don't know where he is. Don't ask me about him. I'm really upset.
I'm not gay.
Basically, like, stop asking me where my lover is. I'm not defined by him. He's been abducted.
Well...
okay, so it turns out that Tetsuo has actually escaped from the hospital. He has gone to meet what we think is his girlfriend. I'm going to say he never shows any interest in Kaori, who is voiced by Yoriko Fujizaki. But he also tells her that he doesn't really remember much of what has happened to him. So there's this interesting connection between an almost PTSD / repressed memory piece going on.
Well... Sorry, this is Tetsuo, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, because I think one area I struggle with in this film, too, is really latching onto the passage of time.
Right.
And because I think at this point, Tetsuo has already been through many, many, many experiments.
Yes, multiple days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so... he's out and about, so he decides, I'm going to try to steal Kaneda's car again. And of course, because he did bash that one clown in the head earlier in the film, they're out for revenge. So when he takes off with Kaori on the bike, Kaneda has to go in and try to help him because he knows that he's in danger. So we come across Tetsuo, basically getting into trouble, but he's also holding his own for the first time in a while because he seems to be more powerful. So when Kaori wakes up after being gently sexually assaulted, she finds that Tetsuo is basically beating this guy nearly to death.
Like kicking the shit out of his face, I think.
Yeah, it's really brutal. Like, for the first time, we're actually seeing this character with agency and the power to back up that agency. But when Kaneda basically says, hi, what are you doing? Tetsuo goes off on him. It feels so, not
abrupt.
Out of the blue, but yeah, it's very like, you don't know me. Don't try to control me. I don't need you anymore. Fuck off.
And this is where it's like, okay, yeah, clearly there's some animosity between these two, but we don't really exactly know what it is. And it's not like one singular incident made it this way. It's just, that's their relationship.
Yeah, and I think Tetsuo now realizes he has a different kind of power, so he doesn't need to rely on him. But it also seems like Tetsuo has come to resent Kaneda.
Very much so.
So he tries to leave, but this is where he is stricken by visions of children saying Akira, and he hallucinates. This is the first really good instance of body horror. His guts just spontaneously spill out of his body, and then the ground cracks open beneath him.
This is where, actually, so the ground cracking happens first. It's really weird. I actually love the sound design in these scenes, too, because when the ground starts cracking, there's no sound whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
The guts spill out, and I love it, too, because then it cuts, and you see him, like, spooning up the guts, but the guts aren't there anymore. So you just see him just spooning up nothing from the ground.
He looks mad.
Yeah. The crazy mad, not the angry mad.
Yes, because he was previously angry mad, and now he looks, put him back in the hospital, which is what we're going to do, because the doctor has been trailing him this whole time, and when we see that he is having this kind of reaction, we just whisk him away.
Well, just like Resident Evil Extinction, when they can detect Alice's superpowers because she's using them, that's what happens here. Like, satellites pick up psychic energy or something.
I guess, yeah. People just seem really good at finding other people in this world. One of the details that I really like about this, you can see the map on the Wikipedia entry for the film, but they basically didn't repair Tokyo after it was destroyed. They just rebuilt it in the middle of Tokyo Bay.
Right. So it's basically like an island.
Yes, which will cause some problems in the climax of this film. So, there's another terrorist bombing that night, and Kaneda tries to rescue Kei from the police because he's been tracking her. He has suspected that she was involved in some of these activities based on her being at the police station when he was there. So he tries to rescue her because this is what he does. He has a fucking hero complex.
He really does, actually, doesn't he?
He's basically just said, oh, well, if I can't do it for Tetsuo anymore, I'm going to do it for Kei. And you're like, bitch.
Go home and watch some TV.
Just relax. Nobody relaxes in this movie. You know what? It's a dystopia. Nobody can relax.
Exactly.
So anyway, he tries to rescue her, but she ultimately ends up having to rescue him by shooting a police officer in the fucking face, which means we now have to go on the run as fugitives. This gains him access to the safe house, so he gets to meet Ryu, who naturally thinks that he is a spy, which would be the thing you would think if a teenage boy suddenly appears with your girlfriend. But Ryu reluctantly agrees to let Kaneda stay because they have decided they're going to wage a siege on this hospital infirmary. And of course, this is when his relationship to Tetsuo has come out. So it's like, okay, well, it makes sense to keep you on board.
Yeah, I think at this point, too, is when if you're not paying attention, good luck.
Yes, yeah. Hold on tight. Hold on to your hang glider in the sewer because we're really about to go into it.
Yeah, right. I put hovering snowmobiles was what I called these things.
Oh, interesting. I just said, it's like Return of the Jedi kind of.
Oh, yeah. That's totally what it is.
Yeah. All right, so in the hospital, Tetsuo has a dream about disintegrating in an atomic blast as Kaneda watches. And we see, this is our introduction then to Kyoko, who is voiced by Fuke Ito. She lives in a glass bubble because apparently she's kind of susceptible to the elements.
It's like a giant bassinet.
Yeah. It's kind of fun, right? Everybody has their own little unique thing. Takashi doesn't need anything. And then we've got Masaru. Yeah. He's got his little hovercraft wheelchair thing. And then, she's got the glass bassinet. Sure. It helps to distinguish them.
Well,
so
it's very
useful.
It's very pink, too. And there's not a lot of pink in this movie.
Right, yeah. So she has the gift of precognition. So she ultimately warns the colonel that if Tetsuo gets out, the entire city will crumble and pretty much everybody will die. So it will be a giant catastrophe.
Well, but I think the big red flag that she says, like, we're going to re-meet Akira if this happens. And that the colonel's like, what?
Yeah, wait, that child that I had dissected and then cryogenically frozen under the Olympic Stadium? Oh, okay. Yeah. So yes, he goes to the doctor, they go to this abandoned facility, which is under the Olympic Stadium, and then they survey. Oh, okay, well, Pandora's box, aka Akira, is still here. Nothing, like the power still works, but nothing has changed.
I do think this is a good reveal, though. It's basically this giant metallic cryogenic chamber that is steaming, cold steam or whatever that is. And you're like, oh, okay. So you're thinking you're going to get like this, frozen being in there.
Yeah. And instead it's like, oh no, there's several layers that we will still need to get through before we eventually meet Akira.
And that is something I actually do really like, is the progression of what we learn about Akira over the course of the 2 hours.
Yeah. It's unexpected. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ryu talks to Executive Council member Nezu, who is voiced by Hiroshi Otake. And folks, if you don't really know who this character is, he only appears a couple of times in the film, but he is pretty memorable because he's got a cane, a purple suit, and so on. And Nezu, believes that the city has fallen into vice and sin. And this is a sentiment that is echoed by a street preacher who is talking about Akira like it's the end of days.
Yeah, and this is something this relationship that I really missed on my first viewing too, where Mr. Nezu, he's basically one of these council members that's like chastising the colonel, but he's also funding the rebellious movement.
He is indeed, yeah. And I think that's something that's very easy to miss.
Yeah, it is. I firsthand, I can say it is easy to miss.
Yeah, so this conversation reveals to us that Nezu did orchestrate the kidnapping / abduction of Takeshi that kind of started all of this. So the kid being brought through the crowd and the guy being shot, that was all orchestrated by Mr. Nezu. Okay, so we move to the Supreme Executive Council, and we see that these parliament members are balking at the colonel's request for more funding. And as we hinted at earlier, it's mostly because they think he's doing a shit job. Nobody trusts him. There's a ton of political infighting. Everybody wants to backstab everybody else. And he's essentially fired.
Well, but he's saying, hey, we're heading towards another explosion, and they're like,
they don't care.
No, I don't believe you.
Which again, like, we will come to find out that like Mr. Nezu is completely corrupt. He tries to flee with a briefcase overflowing with yen, and everybody else at this table has their own political ambitions, their own private agendas. So nobody's even really listening to the colonel. So this feels like a pretty big condemnation of the inadequacies or even the failures of government.
Yeah, and not even specifically the Japanese government, just the governments in general.
Yeah, like the people in control. It feels very, not to make this too political, but you could insert somebody else onto this council and be like, oh, this looks like what fascism is doing to the US right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to jump ahead a little bit just to splice some of these like-minded scenes. So basically, the colonel ends up leaving this meeting and they want him to answer for a bunch of things. And they're like, you're going to be in big trouble. And then later on, they actually send somebody to come and arrest him. They strip him of his rank. And the colonel does not accept this, murders that guy, and then plots his big coup, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so he's basically like, oh, y'all aren't going to listen to me? Fine. I'm going to stage a coup. But also, it's kind of like, well, what's the coup? I guess the coup means he overthrows them, then he can do whatever he wants.
Exactly. So he doesn't have to answer to anybody, so he can take these astronomical strides to ensure the protection of Neo-Tokyo.
And that's the thing. This would be, okay, I mean, yeah, he's being a villain. He's being a bad guy, but he's all doing this to save Tokyo and possibly the world. I don't know.
Because they're not fucking listening. And he knows that there's a catastrophe on the horizon if people don't act. So, yeah, it's like, goddamn, he's both. He is a hero and a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so meanwhile, the rebels, including Kaneda, sneak into the hospital in disguise. This, to me, is the slightest of subplots in this entire film, because it doesn't really come to anything except getting Kaneda in the same room as Tetsuo so that we can stage another violent encounter.
Yeah, it's almost like, can we just have him just show up somewhere? But Joe...
But there's some fun action stuff. So.
Yeah, there is some fun action stuff. But honestly, it's the horror stuff we're about to get that really, really, like, gets me.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is my favorite scene in the entire movie. I mean, the climax with what happens to Tetsuo is visually impressive and it's very exciting and overwhelming, but this is the tease of what's going to happen. So we've got Tetsuo having visions of the stuffed toys in his room coming alive. They turn giant. They start spewing milk that threatens to basically drown him in this room. And this only stops when he ends up cutting his foot open on a glass that he steps on. And it's revealed, oh, this is all hallucination, like projected images that the other kids are putting into his head.
Yeah.
But I have to say, like, the first time I saw this movie with these giant stuffed toys,
scary.
It's fucking scary. It's so visually interesting. And the music, the score here is really unsettling.
This reminds me, I don't know if you've ever seen The Brave Little Toaster, but this really reminded me of some of the scariest imagery from The Brave Little Toaster. Specifically when the car comes out of the hallway and like starts just like spraying him with milk, which, by the way, I know it's milk, but aren't we getting a little bit of ejaculation in this?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But also, again, the music here. The music is like, it's choral going like, it's really creepy.
Yes. It's so effective. Like, it feels like something that you would hear from a children's toy, but it's been turned into something that is very threatening.
Ooh. Yes. Oh, actually, it's not even very little. It's Little Nemo. Little Nemo is what I'm thinking of.
Okay. I still don't know, but okay.
Okay. Well, it's a really fucking scary kids movie about Dreamland.
Okay.
But the kids are doing this to him to... What?
It's to fuck with him, I think. It's to showcase their power, but also we have to remember they are kids, right?
Well, I guess I'm thinking though, like they're like, hey, they know that this guy is potentially going to unleash Akira and like, you know, start another bomb or whatever. So why are they antagonizing him?
For me, this is them being children and playing a game. It could also be a test of, if he's so powerful, let's see what happens when we use ours against him.
Well, yeah, but then the fucking sight of blood scares the shit out of them, and so they're like,
we're little kids. We're not accustomed to seeing gore. Yeah. Okay, so while this is happening, we get a bunch of bullshit happening in the sewers with the rebels and Kaneda. They have these Star Wars battles, and, it's a good opportunity for him to save Kay.
Yeah, but he also keeps getting sewer water in his mouth, which is disgusting every time you see it.
Yeah, again, maybe a comedy beat.
I think it is. But also, so again, while this is going, Tetsuo walks out of his room, and I did not expect this. I did not remember this, where he just telepathically explodes 2 orderlies who were trying to bring him back to his room.
Yeah, like this kid keeps getting out of his room and going around, and we need to stop him. And he just goes, bloop, bloop. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. So, okay. This is when we go to the baby room. So this is where the 3 kids typically reside, and the colonel's men try to recapture Tetsuo. They're under orders not to kill him. They want to take him alive. But this is also when Kyoko takes control of Rei's mind so that we can give Kaneda the directions so that they can get there in time. So this is the first instance where we're really seeing, Kyoko doesn't just get prophetic dreams and visions. She can also, as we said earlier, puppet people's bodies.
And that will come back later.
Indeed. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So everybody sort of crashes into this room all at the same time. And we kind of get a repeat on a grander scale of what we saw the last time Tetsuo and Kaneda were in the same space. So it's like, hey, what's going on here? And Tetsuo just goes, fuck yeah.
Yeah, he's real angry.
Yeah, so he ends up cracking Kyoko's glass cage, and he damages the structural integrity of the building. He also, in this instance, manages to get a glimpse into her mind of where Akira is. So he just kind of pieces out, falls down the sides of this building into like a kind of underworld. So he ends up like right near the Olympic Stadium.
How convenient.
How convenient. Yeah. Yeah. But before he ends up making his way down there, he does stop over briefly to revisit the bar from the opening of the film, and he arbitrarily kills the owner as well as fellow capsule member Yamagata.
And this is something that does play a bigger. The death of Yamagata is like a much bigger deal, I feel like, in the manga.
Okay,
I didn't know who this character was, even though we have seen him before in the film. But I was like, I don't know, whatever.
He's just a kind of hangers-on. Like, he would be a supporting character in a gang. So you're like, oh, I recognize the face sometimes. But yeah, when he shows up here, you think, I think we've seen him before, but I can't be certain.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, too. I mean, you can talk about confusing characters. Because, like, even Kei, the female character, has similar haircuts to all the other boys in the film.
This is true. Yeah. Okay, so because of their actions, Kei and Kaneda have been brought back to jail. But Kyoko uses this opportunity to puppet her again so that we can get the backstory or part of the backstory on Akira.
This is something, okay, so watching the 2 different versions, the Japanese dub and the English dub, because you only watch the Japanese dub, right?
Yes, I only watched the subtitled version.
Yes, okay, got it. So in the English version, and maybe this is how it's done in the Japanese version, but I couldn't tell that there were 2 different voices here. But in the English version, you can definitely tell that, like, while Kei is speaking, the child voice of Kyoko is layered over her for this entire monologue. And I didn't pick up on that in the Japanese version.
Yeah, I think we get a cutaway, like an edit back to Kyoko, so I understood it then, but I don't think I initially understood that. I was just like, oh, where did Kei get this information
We
from?
get it at the very end of her monologue, but in the English version, like from the get-go, that it's Kyoko speaking through her.
Interesting. Okay.
This, I did write this down because I thought this was the most interesting thing, because this is the cosmic part of the film, right?
Yes.
Where it's like, what is this psychic energy? And it's just, so she says, Kyoko as Kei tells Kaneda that Akira is absolute energy. Humans do all kinds of things in their lifetime, discovering things, building things. All that knowledge and energy, where do you suppose it comes from? Human used to be monkeys, which used to be fish, which used to be plankton and amoebas. Before that was water and air, then space dust. What memories are hidden in those things? What if an amoeba was given power like a human's? And amoeba just devour all the food around them. And of course, in this metaphor, Tetsuo is the amoeba.
Yes.
And Tetsuo has that kind of energy now. People used to try to harness that kind of energy, and it triggered the fall of Tokyo.
Yeah, that's basically the entire theme of this film, right? It's like, stop trying to play with powers of gods or, species or levels above you, because you can't control them no matter how hard we try. like in some ways, this is very much an anti-war movie because it just keeps saying, as human beings, we will constantly produce new weapons, try to control them, try to control others with them, and it will only lead to our own destruction.
It's also a really good argument for stay in your lane.
You know what? I love both of those succinct explanations for this film. But yes, no, it absolutely is. It's stay in your lane, and the lane should not be Oppenheimer.
No, not at all. But yeah, so but it's also unclear on like how people can activate. Well, again, we know that being around these espers can like trigger people's psychic stuff, but it is unclear of how they're finding this or why some people aren't able to do this, because it seems like everyone should be able to have these psychic powers at some point, given like this evolution speech we're getting right now.
Well, question for you. Do you think that Kei has latent powers as well? Or is it just that Kyoko takes over her because it's like, well, you're the other girl?
Well, I think the implication is that they're latent powers. It's the same thing with Tetsuo. But the movie doesn't really explain it.
It doesn't explain it.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I'd be curious to hear listeners' thoughts on this one as well, because like we don't really even have Kei interact with any of them before she gets taken over, does she? But
not really.
But I kind of read it the same way as you, where it does feel like this is Neo Tokyo. You know, everybody has gone through this process of surviving one of these atomic bomb-like blasts. So everybody is fundamentally changed to a cellular level, I think.
Well, and that good point. I'm actually surprised we don't mention kind of radiation or anything like that.
Right? I mean, we basically say we jumped ahead so that we can not have to address it. Like 31 years. I don't know if that's a period of, okay, this might now be safe, or the people who would have been immediately affected would have died off, and then people with kind of mutant latent genes or something would start to come back up.
I guess that's a different movie. That's X-Men.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I mean, these people really needed a Professor X to help them out.
Yeah, not the Colonel. They needed a professor.
Okay, so we have the pair of them escaping from jail, and we meet up with, this is going to get confusing, there is another male character called Kai, K-A-I, as opposed to our female K-E-I. So Kai has survived this bar massacre. He tells Kaneda that Yamagata has been killed. So this basically really sets into motion, we need to find Tetsuo, and we need to stop him because he's out of control.
Well, and this is when we get this choice line from Kaneda saying, "We've always been together. I've known everything about him since we were in the children's home." Oh, so actually, I think they are probably the same age. They were in the children's home together.
I mean, you could have children of different ages mixing and matching in kind of like a foster care situation. But yeah, like it's this idea that we are thick as thieves. We're like brothers who...
Fuck.
Yeah, who want to fuck. Part of the film that I don't like, if only because, even though I said it feels like the film needs 2.5 hours because there's still so much going on, sometimes the 2 hours does feel a little bit burdensome.
Laborious.
Yeah, so like, do I need kind of crashing Yamagata's bike as a eulogy? It feels like such a fucking stupid addition.
It's if we knew anything about Yamagata, that sure. But again, the tragedy of his death, but I do think means more in the manga, doesn't really resonate with me here.
Not really, because he was barely a character. We didn't really understand his relationship to the others, so it's kind of like, oh, one of our friends has died. Obviously, it's symbolic. We'll crash his bike, we'll burn it up because he's not here anymore. So it's almost like a funeral pyre.
Yeah.
But mostly for plot purposes, it seems like it's an opportunity to distract Kaneda, so that we can kidnap Kei, because Takashi just basically walks her across water and then we teleport her out of there.
Which, the Jesus imagery with the walking on water.
Yes, and also it looks cool as fuck because Kaneda tries to follow and he just sinks right into the water. I was like, ooh, I like that.
But like, I this is wild too, because it's like they like teleport. It's like teleportation because Kei just fades away basically as they start to walk away.
Which is also like, oh, that would be a useful skill. Could you not do that to other people at more convenient times in this narrative?
Right? Like when you're trying to save someone, just like go whisk them away? Yeah.
Like why did Kyoko have to give Kei instructions on how to do the speed racer thing through the sewers? Why didn't we just teleport them in?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kyoko does take this opportunity to reassure Kaneda that he will know how to help Tetsuo when the time comes, but also, hey, we're sending you into battle.
That's really cryptic.
It's super cryptic. Like, ma'am, are you the ghost from What Lies Beneath?
A little bit, yeah. You know, Kaneda.
You'll know. You'll know how to stop him. Okay, so meanwhile, executive council members are panicking, basically because we know that our attempt to get rid of the colonel has not succeeded. Shit is spiraling, so one guy definitely dies by suicide. Mr. Nezu tries to take the money and run. He's confronted by Ryu, who he thinks has betrayed him, so he shoots Ryu. Ryu doesn't die. He lives long enough to see Mr. Nezu have either a heart attack or an overdose of his own pills, or both, and he just dies in the street.
Wikipedia told me that, the pills he was trying to eat were medicine for his heart. So it is a heart attack. But yeah, okay. I also thought, because I was getting
pours the entire bottle into his mouth.
Well, yeah, but because we also have this bit, which I don't think we've mentioned, where the espers are also getting these pills to help them with their headaches and to control their powers and like things like that.
Yeah, so when Tetsuo had his migraine where his gut spilled out and the ground broke open and everything, that was in part, I think, withdrawal effects because the drugs were wearing off or he hadn't had his dose and so on. So that will only become more problematic as we move forward. And that will also be visually represented moving forward because Tetsuo will have a bit of a receding hairline and his veins in the face will start popping.
Oh, yeah. He turns into like full, oh my God, what Dragon Ball Z character by the end of this film.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he does.
The hair and everything.
The hair and everything. So he also, at this point, is basically facing down a bunch of tanks and other army dudes. So they're not having any success, but they do try to shoot him a bunch of times. And at one point, he decides that he's going to grab a piece of red fabric and he will tie it around his neck, not unlike a Nietzschean Superman.
Wait, Nietzschean Superman?
Yeah, like basically he is a god at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is what that kid in Brightburn does.
Essentially that, yeah. Which again, I'm sure there's no influence.
I was going to say, that has to be inspired by this.
I mean, I will say the film that I was getting the most of on this rewatch, and it's definitely cited in that Wikipedia page of, 30 other films, I was getting a huge amount of Chronicle.
Oh, yeah. I could totally see that. I've only seen Chronicle once, which I know you've been wanting us to cover, which we totally should. But in terms of imagery, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But in terms of the subject matter, yeah absolutely.
Yeah, because it's basically Dane DeHaan goes from a weakling who always needs protection, and he's just not on par with his other friends, specifically the one like hot black dude that he's friends with.
Yeah.
And he ends up getting superpowers, and then he's constantly levitating, talking down, getting super angry at his friend, and so on. So I do think that there's a huge amount of parallels.
Yeah. Oh, actually, we passed over this really quickly. I just want to ask you a question because there's a part where I believe it's Kyoko talking to Kaneda whenever she takes Kei away, but she says, Akira's power exists within everyone, but when that power is awakened, even if you aren't prepared for it, you must choose how to use it. Tetsuo has made his choice. He is our new companion, but she says we're partly to blame for his actions. And is that just because he came into contact with us? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could be very specific and literal and refer back to that scene where they set him off with the prank and the stuffed toys, but I read that more as Takashi with the incident on the road, because if Tetsuo hadn't have crashed his bike, if he hadn't have been wounded, they might not have taken him, they might not have experimented on him.
Yeah, because honestly, if it was the prank they played, I'd kind of be like, you're not partly to blame for his actions. You're actually pretty heavily to blame for his actions, but yeah, sure.
But also, I mean, if you can trigger a super villain, albeit an empathetic one, strictly by playing a prank on him, I mean, that person needed a thicker skin.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he is mentally unstable. Like that. He was before this, and he is still afterwards.
I mean, I think you can read him as a bullied, traumatized, possibly abused child from what we see in the flashbacks. Like, I'm not going to suggest he was treated horribly, but he clearly had a very bad upbringing. And in some ways, it's that story of, okay, well, he goes one way and then Kaneda goes the other way.
Yeah. But I was a little bit confused by that line whenever she said that. I was like, well, what blame are you taking for this? But
yeah. I mean, everybody's got a bit of a role to play in what happens, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, Nezu dies. Pandemonium is filling the streets. So a bunch of people, like all these protests have been going on and the rebellion is still blowing up shit. But, you know, people are out in the streets. The army is out in the streets and everybody is seeing this battle go down with Tetsuo. So people start to say, oh, he is the living embodiment of Akira. So the god that we have been waiting for has returned. So, you know, the prophecy, all this other kind of bullshit, but that's also very scary. And at this point, the capture him alive order has dissipated, and we've got laser guns, Trace.
Yeah, this is where I started getting confused about what was going on. Because this is where the cultists really come in, you know? But, but as soon as they enter the film, they quickly leave it because we are blowing everything up. This bridge collapse looks awesome.
It's so good, yeah. And I kind of love that it becomes a miniature disaster film because, you know, people are trying to grab other people so that they're not falling into the water and so on. But it's just like, no, everybody goes in except for Tetsuo.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is making his way to this Olympic site because he knows that this is where Akira is. So he ends up battling Kyoko in Kei's body, and he ends up levitating this metal orb that contains Akira's body, or so we think. Like, it's a giant orb, and at one point he's like, open, like he crushes it with his mind, and it reveals, oh, it's actually a smaller orb inside.
I was going to say, technically it does contain Akira's body, just in pieces.
Not the way we thought, yeah. So eventually what we get is a bunch of different canisters of sliced body parts, and I think the one that's most upsetting, because we're pretty clear that this was a child. Yeah. It was not an adult. And you can see one that is a slice of the brain down part of the spine. So we just, we fully dissected this child after death.
Yeah, I think this is the cranial nerve because I made that in my notes. But right. It's like all those canopic jars from the Mummy. That's what they've done here with their Akira.
Yeah. And obviously this is not what Tetsuo was expecting to see. So we have the Colonel, who is not on site, but not off site. He's basically mic'd so that he can project his voice to not just Tetsuo, but anybody else who might happen to be around. And he explains that Akira has been dead all this time. And this doesn't go down well, but also it is not helped by the fact that Kaneda has showed up, and he basically says, hey, Tetsuo, we need to fight this out. So they unpack their relationship issues with laser guns on Kaneda's side and telekinesis on Tetsuo's side. And of course, we've got Kei caught in the middle the whole time.
Kinda, but like honestly, like she stops being a factor for me after this scene. But
like we basically torpedo her using the telekinesis, and she like hits the ground in some blue light, and
I think it's because they're like in the manga, these are two separate fights with like Kei and Tetsuo having a big fight, and then Kaneda and Tetsuo having a big fight. And so I think in the movie we're merging them.
Yes, that is absolutely what we're doing. I mean, in some ways, it's exciting because you think, oh, look at how powerful Tetsuo is that he can take on both of these people at the same time. But I do agree with you, like, Kei's not really doing much.
She is honestly, I do think this film has an issue with female representation and characterization, but
yeah, it's a little bit paper thin. Yeah.
But it's
a boys' club. What do you want?
It's very much a boys' club. I do really. I mean, I like the conversation between Kaneda and Tetsuo, especially when like Kaneda really starts like kind of like just like prodding at him.
He's antagonizing him, and part of this. Again, I think this would land better if Yagamoto had been a bigger character, but this very much feels like, I used to protect you. We used to be close, and now you're acting like like, I literally wrote in my notes, it's a lover's quarrel with lasers and telekinesis.
Well, that is the thing, because this is fueled by Yamagata's death, and so it's, because that's why he did that whole funeral thing with the bicycle, and so I think it's meant to be, like, Yamagata's death was such a turning point for Kaneda, where he decided, I have to fight him and or kill him.
Yeah, he can't be resuscitated, he can't be brought back from the dark side, but that part kind of goes unsaid. It just seems like he shows up on the bike, he's now suddenly got the laser gun, and he's like, oh, it's on.
I think the only way you can tell is just by the way that Kaneda is acting and how he's saying his lines, which again I do think comes across better in the English dub when you can pick up a affectation.
Inflection. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Inflection a little bit better. And that was the thing too. I felt a little embarrassed to be like I had to watch the English dub, but I do think when you don't have live action actors there to also have body language, I do think that makes it harder to pick up on tone sometimes on the anime.
I'll confess I've actually found that in live action non-English productions as well. Because like I tried, it's a stupid example, but I tried to watch the Dutch version of The Traders, which is a game that's all about, it's basically like Mafia, but you know, anyway, but the whole game is based on lying and deceit and stuff. And I found it super difficult because I couldn't tell when people were maybe changing or trying to like, oh, I'm reassuring you. No, I'm lying to your face or something. So I found, it's just an issue where if you don't have the vantage of understanding that language and you're just relying on subtitles, you are missing the inflection.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't feel as bad anymore.
No, never apologize. Here's the thing. Whatever way you watch the movie, it's not like you're saying, oh, I couldn't read the subtitles because they're too distracting. That to me is the only time I'm just like, work at it. Train yourself. It does get easier.
Yeah. I also watch everything with subtitles now, even English things.
I know.
So,
I've turned so many people.
Yeah, I know you have. Okay,
let's get to Sol. Trace. This is SOL. This is a spaceship that the Colonel uses to basically beam destruction down onto Tetsuo.
I love the way. So Tetsuo and Kaneda are like taking a break for a minute from their fight. Sure. And then we just have this big blue light go down on Tetsuo, and he's kind of like interested. He's like, "Oh,
what is this?
Light?
Oh, I seem to be
really
gently
cool.
disintegrating a little bit on the arm.
The skin seems to be lifting off of my arm."
Yeah. So this blast hits him, and initially you think he's so powerful it doesn't even hurt him, and then you realize he's missing part of his right arm and gushing blood.
But this is the fact that this it's an orbital weapon is what this is called, by the way. It's basically a big satellite laser gun.
Yes.
Just call it that. I think once you realize, all this did was remove his arm, which he very quickly builds back together with some metal, which I can't believe we haven't mentioned Tetsuo the Iron Man.
I know.
Like Tetsuo the Iron Man had to have been influenced by this.
Oh, it was 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, so he gets a fucking cyborg arm that he builds for himself.
But that's only after we try to hit him a second time, and he launches himself into space to destroy this aircraft. And him punching it and sort of destroying it in the process, it starts spitting out these blue laser beams all over the place. So a bunch of people are just getting fried and we're causing all kinds of property damage. And then when he does destroy it, it falls back to Neo Tokyo in giant pieces that cause even more destruction.
Yeah. I mean, and again, just if you did this in live action, imagine how expensive this movie would be.
Honestly, I mean, I think that's one of the other big pieces is the story is so sprawling. The visuals are so impressive. And then you would also need an exaggerated runtime because it's dealing with so much heavy thematics. Every time they talk about doing a live action version of this, I just say,
good luck.
Just why would you undertake it? You will not improve on this anime. It is a fool's errand.
I also don't think, I mean, again, because so much of this is tied into Japan's cultural history. It's one of those things. I don't know how you would translate this for American audiences if you said it in America.
Oh, which you 100% would. It would be fucking Chris Pratt as Kaneda.
Well, remember at one point it was going to be Zac Efron. Like seriously, it was going to be like Kaneda was going to be Zac Efron.
Okay, you know what? I could maybe kind of see it, but here's the thing. Any time, like, not to fully shit on Scarlett Johansson, but like the live action version of Ghost in the Shell is not just racist, it is that, but it's also just an atrocity. Like they try to do one-to-one, this is what it looks like in the anime, this is what it looked in the manga, this is what we try to do in live action. It still looks good. It has zero emotional impact.
Yeah.
It just, you cannot do certain things, and this feels like it is the height of cultural appropriation.
Right. Well, and because here's the thing, I think if you were going to remake this and set it in America, well then yeah, obviously, but you have to change it to America's history somehow, which we don't have an atomic bomb on our land. Oh, I guess you know what? Oh, you know what you would do?
You would do the Twin Towers.
The Twin Towers, 100%. Yep.
Which, poor taste.
I mean, would you call this poor taste for doing the same thing?
No, because I think that this movie is actually interrogating the history. If you made this in America and you made it about 9/11, you would be trying to assign blame. Guarantee it.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to be proven wrong, but I would argue we have no films that have addressed 9/11 in a, helpful way. The closest we get is that Paul Greengrass movie, and it's really just about American heroism.
That's 1993, right?
Yeah. Which is a great movie, but it's also very much about resilience and the human spirit. It's not actually talking about 9/11.
Yeah, okay.
So as you mentioned, Tetsuo fashions himself a new arm, but he does this while he's sitting on the Olympic throne. And I have to say, this image is so striking.
Yeah, it's like a king on his throne.
But we get to watch as he builds this new arm, but then also you can see, because he doesn't have the drugs and he doesn't know how to fully control his power, the arm is also growing and expanding. We see the metallic pieces of the arm going out, and it's like creeping vines. I just think it's so evocative.
Well, when he touches something, parts of it stick to the thing he's touching, and it doesn't fully come off. And this is of course when we get Kyoko's voiceover narration. It's well, when he reaches his full power, shit's gonna go down.
Basically, we be fucked.
Yeah, which is exactly what happens.
100%. Yeah. Now we should know we haven't really touched base with the doctor very much, but he has been doing all of these scientific experiments. He's keeping track of different things, but this is when he's realizing, this brain pattern of Tetsuo's that he's been monitoring, it seems to be growing, meshing with what we had of Akira's. So things are starting to happen. He's excited, but when he gets excited, we should all be worried.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. So this is when the colonel steps in. So he has learned from the doctor that shit's about to hit the fan. So he tries to just, let's just shoot the problem. So we end up shooting Tetsuo, and this causes his body to begin to mutate. So the good arm, is it the good arm or is it the metal arm?
I thought you were calling the metal arm the good arm.
So he starts to mutate, and his arm just basically lashes out, almost like it has a mind of its own. And we should note, this is not just his arm gets super stretchy like Mr. Fantastic. It's big and bulky and gross.
Well, it is the bad arm, by the way. It is the metal arm. But it's this combination of flesh and metal that is, even in animation, really hard to look at.
It's pretty gross, yes. There's something so interesting about it, because you realize, I haven't really seen something like this before. This is body horror, proper body horror, but it's also action movie at the same time.
A lot of this reminds me too of a boss you would fight in a standard Resident Evil game.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, tell me Resident Evil wasn't influenced by this.
100%. I mean, half of Resident Evil is body horror, with all these scientists being let me test this virus on myself and see what happens.
Oh my god, I fucked up.
I'm mutating. What's going on?
I'm trying to take over the world. What's going on?
I never understand that.
So the only reason that the Colonel doesn't really bite it here is because Kaneda returns. His laser gun has been helpfully recharged at this point. So we basically go for round 2, him versus Tetsuo, only this time we're on the bike and we're going around and around the Olympic Stadium. It's also falling apart because every time Tetsuo makes a strike, he's basically using his telekinesis powers to drop giant pieces of rock on things. He's causing fissures in the ground and so on. So everything is completely unstable. It's all very exciting. It's all very overwhelming. But there's a moment where Kaneda gets a shot, he basically fires right through Tetsuo, and you think, okay, that could be a killing blow, and he gets an opportunity to, I think, hit him again with this laser gun, and he can't do it. So he's got the shot, but he can't do it, and this is when Tetsuo completely loses control. It's one of the most iconic images from this movie.
This is horrifying.
Yeah, he basically becomes the Blob from X-Men, only he can't control himself and quite a bit bigger. So he is half man, half machine, but he starts gobbling up everything.
Well, it's the amoeba. He's absorbing everything. And, I have that thing where it's like, I don't like people when they're about to die. If they say, like, I don't want to die. For some reason, Tetsuo's, Kaneda, help me, as he's, like, blowing up, inflating, I guess. It's really disturbing.
It is. It's true. And we've not mentioned it because she's not important except for the fact that she's here and about to die, but Kaori has come to find him. So she was there when he gave himself the metallic arm, but she ends up getting gobbled up into this mass, and then Kaneda also ends up getting sucked in, and he pleads with Tetsuo. He says, you're killing Kaori and you're killing me. And we basically just have to watch as Kaori gets squished, like popped, basically. It's not super lengthy or anything. It's not like we're seeing bones or an eyeball pop out or anything, but she basically does explode like a big meat sack.
Yeah, again, I also find this really disturbing.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's horrifying. But I will say, nobody fucking cares about her once she's gone. So again, going back to this film has a woman problem. Yeah. This is not helping.
Well, and this, I think in the manga, Kaori does still die, but I think she's shot in one of the gang war things, and that's why Tetsuo goes up to try to resurrect her. So like, she doesn't die in this way, even though this event of him blowing up like this does happen. But again, remember, that happened in the manga 2 years after this film came out.
Sure, yeah, because we liked it in the film, so we put it into the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I agree with you. This is very upsetting. It's visually very striking. It's horrifying for this character who's not really a character. But I think it also really feeds into my queer reading because we pop the beard, and then it's only when Kaneda says, you need to stop. And Tetsuo answers him telepathically and says, I'm trying to, but I can't control my body. And yet he does spit Kaneda out.
Yeah, I mean, but by the rules of what we have just seen, Kaneda should be also popped like a grape.
100%. Yes, and he fucking great.
He somehow survives this and just keeps on living. But
just keeps on ticking. Yeah. Okay, so part of the reason he does survive is because our kids have arrived. So the ESPers, they are on the scene. They're praying to these canisters of Akira, and they eventually prompt them to explode in a blaze of white light. And the colonel is told by Kyoko to go and hide, which, again, the relationship he has with her and the fact that she doesn't feel resentment, she's not scared, she's not threatened by him, it tells me, again, he can't just be classified as a villain or an antagonist because he clearly has a good relationship and cares for these kids.
Well, but we do get flashbacks to their time. Like, that's the other thing. Like, why don't these kids grow? They do get older, but why don't they grow? We never get an answer for that question.
It's like progeria or something. I don't get it.
Yeah, but this film would imply that their psychic abilities are doing this to them, that they wouldn't just like be like this if they, whatever. But it's one of two things. It's like, well, if the colonel was around from the beginning, he probably does care about her, but he's also like, it's not Stockholm syndrome, but like it's whatever that would be for this child.
It's also like a surrogate parent, right? Mm-hmm. Like if they don't have anyone who actually acts as a mother or father figure to them, then the closest thing that they have is this colonel who purports to listen to them, who wants to make good use of them, who is a permanent fixture in their lives. So yeah, you said not Stockholm syndrome, but maybe not far off from Stockholm.
It's something like that, whatever it is.
Because also, like, did we just get these kids from orphanages? Did we steal these kids? Because Tetsuo was just airlifted off of the street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we don't get the answer to those questions.
No, we do not. No. Okay, what we do have is a blinding white fucking light that is about to devour everything because, hey, everybody, remember that image of the atomic bomb? She back. She taking over the city.
But this is like, okay, so this light is created by the Espers, or is it Akira, or is it all of the above?
It's Akira, yeah.
Okay, got it. Because Akira, even though he is just a bunch of pieces at this point, is still powerful enough to do this.
I think the insinuation is that by praying to him, their combined powers, maybe something else that's a bit magical.
By our powers combined, I am Captain Planet.
I am Captain Akira, yes. it seems like they almost reanimated, because I feel like I remember that there's a visual of the canisters floating, shattering, and then we get the white light almost as if, okay, you have freed or brought something back of this creature. Because like you said, right, you know, it's the cells, the atoms, the wind, the elements, and so on. So it's kind of like the Force. Akira is in all of us. So basically, the other interesting thing about this is that it's a devastating bomb kind of image, but people get sucked into it, and it's not like they just disintegrate. They don't light on fire. Like the imagery that we see of atomic bomb, people who have been devastated, people who have survived it even, this is not that. It's something slightly different.
Well, no. So what this is, according to Wikipedia, is a singularity. This is something where it's like the thing that caused the Big Bang. And so it's literally creating a new universe, a new dimension, a new universe or whatever. But they're doing this because they don't want to kill Tetsuo. They're doing this to save Tetsuo.
Yeah, because he's one of them, right? As you said, he has joined them. He's part of them now. Mm-hmm. So yes, unfortunately, to create something, we also have to destroy something. So we're not like really killing the people who get sucked into this thing, but we are absolutely destroying roads, cars, apartment buildings, towers. They're starting to fall. They're starting to shatter. They're going into the water. So this is all happening at the same time as we get a glimpse of what's going on inside the singularity, which is flashbacks to Tetsuo and Kaneda riding on their bikes in happier times. They're meeting as little boys and their shared experiences of being bullied and how Kaneda first started to look out for Tetsuo. And I think it's a really important moment for these characters because we've seen them at each other's faces, like fighting for so much of the film. Mm-hmm. It's important for us to understand where their friendship, where their romance began, but also to see they weren't always unhappy.
Do you think it's too late in the film for us to see this?
It's a question, right? I think you either have to do it at the beginning so that we understand the depth of the relationship. Like, we do hear that they have known each other since they were childhood friends at the foster center or at the orphanage or whatever. I kind of like knowing that and then seeing it at the end when you think that everything has quite literally exploded.
Okay.
But you sound less certain.
No.
You're like, I don't really care at this point.
No, I'm truly not really, but
okay.
But I just thought I'd ask.
Okay. So yes, as the city is being destroyed, we do get one final scene with the doctor before he is killed, but he realizes
yeah, he is crushed by his lab.
He gets crushed by the lab, which is kind of satisfying because you realize, well, you deserve this.
Yeah.
But he does realize what we're witnessing is the birth of a new universe. And yeah, then he dies, but we go back into this singularity, this new world that we're creating. I really like the visual of this. So we see Kaneda and we see big versions of him that are kind of transparent. We see a little version of him that's kind of falling past it and around it and through it. And it really does feel cosmic and spacey. And I like that.
Yeah.
And we're also then seeing, the destruction of most of Neo-Tokyo. Not everything goes, but it does seem pretty obvious that most people in this city have probably died from this.
Yeah, I guess. But then, all of our characters survive this.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Even the people who are quite literally right next to everything as it goes down, they just get to walk away.
Yeah. But so, the idea here, though, is so basically, they're all going in the singularity. Kaneda does get sucked in too. And the Espers are like, oh.
We'll go in and we'll see if we can save him. One of us can't do it alone, but maybe with the power of all three of us, even though it means we will not be able to come back.
Yeah, the power of three will set us free.
Oh my God, shut up.
But no, so basically it's Akira, Tetsuo, and these three Espers. They're going to go live in this new universe dimension thing by themselves.
Well, until... Okay, because she's still part of this.
Right.
She is still on the outside in the real world, quote unquote, and she calls to Kaneda, and he ends up getting spat out of the singularity, or he finds his way out. He comes back to her, but again, it's not really romantic. Like, he kind of thanks her. He heard her voice, but it's not like we get a kiss. It's not like we see them holding hands. You know, they get on his bike and they drive back into the city. And presumably this other sort of pocket universe exists with the Espers where their power is negotiated or more controlled. And Neo City will become Neo City maybe in the future. But I don't know. Like, I think some people could say you've been reaching with the queer reading, and we very much have the confirmation of a heterosexual couple at the end of this. I don't completely agree. I think it's survivors going back to the ruins.
Yeah, I don't read them as a happy couple walking back to their home.
But technically the film ends not with them. It ends with images of light speed that sort of look like they're forming an eye. And just when you think you might be starting to process or realize what it is, we go to credits.
It's over. To the point where I was simultaneously very happy that the movie was over, but also very much like a, wait, what? Like that.
Yeah.
It just
ended? What am I to make of this? What is that?
And yeah, I mean, I guess they're off living in harmony in their new dimension.
Yeah. Which, you know, maybe we'll start this all again and we'll have learned from our mistakes and we won't play God. We won't have the hubris of the Colonel or the Doctor. We won't make weapons of mass destruction. Maybe it's all just light.
Didn't you say cyclical at the beginning of this episode? I'm pretty sure
I did, in fact.
Yeah, yes. I think we're just going to do this again in
We're
going to
do it all over again.
Yeah. And he's like, poor Tokyo. Neo Tokyo.
Oh my God. Well, how many Neos do we get in that third Matrix movie? We've done it all before. Yeah, so many Neos.
Neo to the nth power, to the nth degree or whatever. But yeah, I did not dislike this movie. I just found this to be a very overwhelming movie.
It is, yeah. Like, did I need to take a bit of a nap or close my eyes for a moment afterwards and just kind of process it, let it wash over me? Yeah, because it is. It's stimulating, sometimes overstimulating. But I think that's part of the power of it. Like, I'm not going to pretend that this is my everything movie. This isn't going to make my Letterboxd top 4 or anything, but I do find it a very powerful piece of filmmaking, and the fact that it has been so fucking influential on, like, folks, if you like anything in the action, sci-fi, dystopian realm from pretty much the last 35 years, it probably owes a debt of something to Akira.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you. I think powerful. It is a powerful film. That is a good way to describe it without a negative connotation.
Yeah, and also, don't fucking touch it. Don't try to remake it. Don't let Netflix kick $100 million to somebody. Just leave it alone. Leave Britney alone. Leave Akira alone.
I guess after their Cowboy Bebop show was a failure, they're probably not going to ever try to touch this.
Right, yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Although I heard the show was actually okay, but anyway. Okay, everyone. Well, that is Akira. And before we announce what we're covering next week, some quick housekeeping. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Blue Sky and Instagram at HorrorQueers. Shoot us an email at horrorqueers@gmail.com. Find us on Letterboxd to keep track of all the films we've covered. If you want to chat with other listeners, please join our Horror Queers Discord. The link is in the show notes. If you have a moment, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want more content, please support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/horrorqueers. If you subscribe today, you will get 418 and a half hours of Patreon content, including this month's new episodes on Cry Wolf, The Long Walk, Him, The Conjuring, The Last Rites, and to tie in with that release, a brand new audio commentary on The Conjuring 2. Plus, we have been dropping new content again on our requel tier, so if you subscribe today, you will get individual episode-by-episode recaps of Noah Hawley's new Alien Earth TV show, as well as the entire second season of The Last of Us.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, good on you for spotting the connections between this film and what Noah Hawley is doing, because, I mean, I think you could probably say, oh, that new show is a little bit indebted to this movie as well.
I fully believe that. 100% believe that.
Yeah.
But, Joe?
Yes?
What are we talking about next week?
Okay, we're going to talk about another classic, a little bit older, keeping with the themes of environmental catastrophe, but we're going to do it with an English accent. So, I was waiting for a reaction because I'm like, well, it is set in America.
I was like, yeah, like, what are you talking about?
It's because we're talking about Alfred Hitchcock again, Trace. So we're going to talk about The Birds.
The Birds, a creature feature like no other.
Yes.
It's been a while since I've seen this, but I do love this movie.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some interesting production history because, of course, old Hitch was good for so many things, including the abuse of his leading lady. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, I'm also excited to unpack the queer reading for this because I'm pretty sure most people think there's just nothing here. There is something here.
Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to either. So I'm actually really intrigued by this.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it next week.
Well, until then, everyone, we can cross out Akira.
Indeed. And cross out horror queers.